Engines on. Quantum travel complete.
Good. You made it. Go ahead and neutralize the Vanduin Shatterblade, then acquire their data packets and the decryption key.
Contact. Shields on. Attack on shields. Engines destroyed.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System. Your insurance claim has been sent. Your insurance claim has... Please visit us again.
Come on, let's do this! I'm gonna mess you up! Yeah, you owe me though! I got you! Go ahead! I'll cover you! I'm gonna slice you thin enough to fry. Yeah, I got ya. You wanted this fight? Now you're gonna feel every second. I'm gonna mess you. I'll cover you. Go ahead. I'll keep 'em occupied. I'll keep 'em occupied. Go, go! I got your back! You got it. Yeah. Come on now. Let's just talk. Hide all you want. I got you covered. Oh, I am gonna make you pay for this. I'll cover you. Go, go! I got your back. I got.
Ah, there we go. I'm seeing dates, credits, transfer codes. This is good. But we're gonna need more. According to this, there should be additional encrypted data packets around your site. Your new objective will be to gather all of the data, along with a decryption key. Guess they made them one-time use for security. But I imagine another high-ranking member of the organization should be carrying one. You are authorized to use lethal force to secure the data and the decryption key. So, roll out and search the rest of this facility, along with the ship and the neighboring base. we go. I'm seeing dates, credits, transfer codes. This is good. But we're gonna need more. According to this, there should be additional encrypted data packets around your site. Your new objective will be to gather all of the data, along with a decryption key. Guess they made them one-time use for security, but I imagine another high-ranking member of the organization should be carrying one. You are authorized to use lethal force to secure the data and the decryption key. So, roll out and search the rest of this facility, along with the ship and the neighboring base.
Got some trouble brewing. Looking into it now. Oh, I am gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna mess you up! Do the smoke! You little insignificant pissant! I'm gonna ruin you! Try not to get shot in anything valuable. Can you believe today? You really started to... You wanted this? Yeah, I got ya. Shit, brother! I'll cover you. I got you covered.
Okay, grabbing the data now. Oh, not getting much. Most of it's encrypted. From what little I can see, there should be a way to unscramble it nearby. See if you can locate a terminal to help unlock this data.
Is this one of you?
Hey, hunting down some murderous skag will let you know a good one.
Go on, keep hiding. The hunt's my favorite part.
I've got you covered!
Wonder how long you could keep quiet.
Oh, I am gonna make you pay for this!
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System. Vehicle selected. Stand by. Your vehicle. Please visit us again.
Access granted.
Do the smart thing! I've got you covered! I'll bet you win. Laying down covering.
Try
we go. I'm seeing dates, credits, transfer codes. This is good. But we're gonna need more. According to this, there should be additional encrypted data packets around your site. Your new objective will be to gather all of the data along with a decryption key. Guess they made the one-time use for security, but I imagine another high-ranking member of the organization should be carrying one. You are authorized to use lethal force to secure the data and the decryption key. So, roll out and search the rest of this facility, along with this ship and the neighboring base.
Contact. Engine systems enabled. Engine systems disabled.
I'll cover you!
I'm pushing.
Come on, let's get to work!
That's the final
I'll
piece
keep
of
'em
data we
occupied.
needed. Time to decrypt them at the terminal and get them uploaded to the Intersect servers.
Are you... Go...
This ain't gonna end well for you.
Oh,
Laying down.
Seriously, come on out. I'll make you...
time for the fun part. I'll cover you. Wonder how long you...
Who let them get away? I'll spend all day hunting you down if I have to.
Wonder how long you can keep quiet.
Find. This cover sucks! I've got you covered!
Contact. Shields on.
Traffic control.
Docking initiated. Contact. Docking denied. Landing gear down. Landing complete. Engines off.